Hello, my name is David Lovett, founder and CEO of Taclus Confidential, and this video is a concise overview of the General Data Protection Regulation, what it is and what it means for your organisation. It's likely that you will have heard of the GDPR, but my discussion with other business owners suggests that there's a lack of clarity about what the reality of this new regulation means for us and what planning and preparation your business needs to put into place to comply with this new law. So first of all, the General Data Protection Regulation comes into force on the 25th of May 2018. It's the most important change in data privacy regulations in 20 years, and its primary aim is to give back control to citizens about the use of their personal data, both in a work and a private setting. Let's start by explaining what is meant by personal data or confidential information. According to the GDPR, personal data or confidential information is any information which can be used to identify a person, such as a name, an email address, bank details, updates on social networking websites, location details, medical information, or a computer IP address. This information can be present anywhere: in sales quotations, information held on databases, a post-it note with a name and a phone number on it, and information held on mobile phones. So what's changing? From May 25th next year, the GDPR comes into force. One of the biggest changes is that from that date, you will need the specific permission of an individual to hold their data. This is retrospective, and so the same rules apply to any data that you already hold. You'll also need to explain to your contacts what you will use their information for and how long you mean to keep it on file. We'll get a good idea of what this means in the real world by looking at a typical example: ABC Limited. They've got a storeroom that doesn't get looked at that often, but they've got a good idea of what's in there. There are boxes of archived records going back for 12 years, which include personnel records, invoices, tax returns, diaries, quotations, job specifications, and so forth. Now, some of this must be kept for a certain amount of time by law, for instance, invoices for tax purposes. They also have a range of mailing lists. They bought legitimate lists from a reputable supplier where the individual had given their consent for their information to be passed on. Going forward, this permission will no longer be valid. So if you have a list that you've bought or put together over time, you will now need the permission of every individual on that list to continue holding their data. And this includes old and existing customers. ABC Limited also have a dozen computers and other electronic devices used by their staff: mobile phones, laptops, tablets, etc. And here they need to audit contacts on all devices and get the permission from all the contacts that they hold this data. They need to be able to provide an audit trail for this permission. They also have half a dozen old computers that live in the cupboard. These computers need to be securely destroyed. So, what are the options? Option 1. You get the specific permission of everyone you've ever dealt with. This is likely to be almost impossible and will certainly be a hugely time-consuming exercise. Option 2. Destroy any data that you don't absolutely have to keep for your business. This means shredding old paper documents or deleting files on your PC. Remember, at the end of the life of your PC, destroy the hard drive. Or, finally, option 3, well, you could always wing it. What are the risks to winging it? The Information Commissioner's Office already has a list of organisations that are, let's say, only barely compliant under the current legislation. The tightening of the law will enable the ICO to go after them. And most likely, unless you're sending out thousands of emails every day or making hundreds of unsolicited cold calls, you're not on the ICO's hit list. But if someone with a grudge against you, say an ex-employee with sour grapes, and they make a complaint against your company, the ICO are obliged to investigate. They will look at everything. And the fines are huge, up to 4% of global turnover or £20 million, whichever's higher. So what's the sensible solution? First off, map your company's data. Do an audit and find out where your data comes from and how you plan to use it in the future. Decide what data you absolutely have to keep. And any old mailing list that you may have bought, just delete them from your hard drives. Any old records that you no longer need, shred them yourself or get a shredding company in to do it for you. Destroy everything that you're not using. And don't collect anything that you won't use. And also review your terms and conditions for existing customers. Amend the terms and conditions to reflect the new law and send them to your customers for their confirmation. Remember to keep an audit trail of this. Establish a process for handling personal data in the future and log this, ensuring that you know how you got consent, how you will ensure that you still have consent, and how you will securely get rid of that confidential data at the end of its time. So, if you do all of the above, you will have a compliant business and happy customers. And if you want to ask me anything at all about how this applies to your specific situation, use the inquiry form on my website, taclusconfidential.co.uk. Good luck and thank you for listening.